Mark Friedman has a purpose. As managing partner and co-founder of Evolved Profits, he and his team have over 40 years of experience in helping businesses free up cash so that it can be reinvested into helping employees, growing the business, and creating positive social impact. He is a serial entrepreneur, CEO, and the best-selling author of Expense to Profit: Eliminate the Costs That Sabotage Your Growth. Mark loves helping companies create more profits while being an agent for change. This is his purpose, and in an effort to help more companies and more people, Mark, along with co-host Yannick Silver, author of Evolved Enterprise, bring you Profits with Purpose, a podcast that aims to do just that. On the show, Mark and Yannick talk to successful corporate decision makers, exploring valuable lessons learned, experiences in growing a company, ways to reduce expenses, and all the ways a company can have a positive social impact. Join us each week and get in on the discussion so we can all have more profits with purpose. And now, here's your host, Mark Friedman.
Welcome to Profits with Purpose. Today's guest is Steve Levine, the CEO of Atmos Air, with a mission to bring and restore every indoor environment possible the same clean and pure quality of air that is typically only found in higher mountain elevations. After a successful career in the commercial alarm business, he decided he wanted to follow his passion and improve health and wellness. So in 2004, he founded the Clean Air Group. His commitment was to bring products and technologies to the market to improve the quality of our environments. It was in 2007 that Steve used his decades of experience as an executive to start Atmos Air, whose customers include the likes of Wells Fargo, Hyatt and Sheridan Hotels, TD Garden in Boston, Los Angeles International Airport, among others. In addition, Steve has spent the past 17 years serving as chairman of Pro Sports Challenge, a fundraising event that has raised over $1 million for individuals with special needs at the Lower Fairfield Center of Norwalk, Connecticut. Steve, welcome to Profits with Purpose.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate being here, and thanks for taking the time to understand Atmos Air.
Well, that's what it's all about. So let's talk about your background and how you ended up improving health and wellness at Atmos Air.
Sure. Well, it goes back a little bit. I have 20-year background in the security alarm business, and after putting our technologies to work there for 20 years of helping people, saving lives, and protecting property, we had a major event. We sold the business. It was a life-changing event. And we said, what do we do next? And we knew it was going to be something in water or air or energy. And we really felt that making a difference in overall air quality was going to be the next horizon. And everybody was looking at water. You know, this goes back to the early 2000s, and water was so prevalent, but nobody really was focusing on clean air. So we thought if we could set up an air testing company and go into buildings and test air quality in buildings, that's how we would start. And because you can't see the air you breathe, right? And if you're able to measure the air quality and actually test the air quality, it comes down to 11 different elements of air quality. And we felt that if we could at least measure the air quality, we would be able to tell people what they're breathing. And that's how it all started.
Wow, so cool. So let's talk about the Clean Air Group and what motivated you really. Other than the fact that you saw this opportunity, was there anything else that motivated you into promoting clean air?
Sure. So clean air, to me, 1 out of 4 people had allergies and asthma. And, if they're reading a lot and determining outside air quality as compared to inside air quality, and when you started hearing things about sick building syndrome over the years and mold problems, to me, there was a lot of issues to be solved. And how are we going to do that? And I figured the best way was to really get into it and understand air quality in buildings, and setting up this testing company was the first way we did that. But then not everybody wanted to test the air, because if you test it and it's bad, how are you going to fix it? And so we said, we really need to find a solution when the air quality is bad to make it better, or even just to enhance overall good air quality. And so we started looking at these different filters and UV lights and electrostatic air cleaners. And we were really broadened our horizon to looking everywhere in the world. And we found this technology in Sweden back in early 2000s. This was 2003. We found this technology, and it was called bipolar ionization. And truly, I understand what bipolar meant, but I didn't know, this technology. And so when you started getting into it, it was all about creating these ions that, when you can bring ions into an indoor environment, these negative and positive ions, almost like you're in a mountaintop. See, when you go to the mountains, there's a natural conductivity at the top of the mountains. And that conductivity is caused by negative and positive ions. And you can actually measure that ion content at the top of the mountains. And you can see that it's very plentiful. But as you come down the mountain, the ions have been depleted because of pollution and emissions. You get into large cities, the ion content is almost non-existent. And then when you walk into a building that has carpet and people and machines, the ion content is virtually nil. And so this technology that we founded, this bipolar ionization technology, this tube, will create the ions and restore a little bit of Mother Nature into the air, just like it would at the mountaintop. It's a natural process. We're never going to make the indoor air quality just like a mountaintop, but we're going to raise that level of ions, typically between 500 and 1500 ions per cubic centimeter. And when we do that, these ions attach to everything we shouldn't be breathing. So think about that, being able to take out of the air everything we shouldn't be breathing. And that was the concept, if you will.
So I'm guessing, as we all pivoted back a couple years ago, I suspect that, as we were all having challenges with the air we were breathing because of the pandemic, and not to say that, look, we all had a pivot, right? Restaurants pivoted, businesses pivoted. This solution sounds like it was something that would be absolutely 100% applicable, not only because of the pandemic. First of all, it should have been in place to start with. So what happened with the pandemic? A lot of things that were maybe going to happen 3, 4, 5 years ago, all of a sudden became evident they needed to happen immediately, right? I'm guessing what you guys provided the marketplace certainly was a technology that all of a sudden became in high demand.
Well, it was, the technology, when we really got our arms around it and we really started bringing it out to the market, we changed the name from bipolar ionization to Atmos Air. And this is back in 2006 and 2007. We were going out and saying, how can we improve air quality just in normal environments? And we knew that 1 out of 4 people had allergies and asthma. So if we could infuse these ions into the central air systems of buildings and residences, we could really, the way the ions work is that they'll grab onto these particles and these spores that float in the air and make them bigger and heavier. So they're much easier to filter out of the air. So less dust, less spores. People that have allergies and asthma, that's what bothers them the most. So if you can take that out of the air, it creates a much better breathing experience. But also the ions had a great effect on odors and volatile organic compounds, because when you ionize the odors, it actually breaks them down into carbon dioxide and water vapor, smelling much cleaner and fresher, almost again like a mountaintop. But I guess what really showed us the difference when we were starting to test the technology in healthcare environments, and we found out that it had a great effect against staph and MRSA, against E. coli, neurovirus, and eventually C. diff. We were saying every hospital should have this technology as a complement to their air system. And just fast forward to the pandemic, when the whole coronavirus issue started, we sent our technology to Microchem, which is an FDA and EPA approved lab, and said, test this against coronavirus. How will it be effective? And they came back and they said it reduces the virus 99.92% inside of 30 minutes. So when you think about that, it was really revolutionary. Most filters are on the return side of the air, trying to capture things that go through it. Our technology is on the supply side of the air, so the ions are actually attacking the contaminants in the space. So if you have this technology and it's able to attack things like bacteria, viruses, and germs, and all these other air quality issues, it's just going to create a much healthier, cleaner, and safer environment. And that's really what took us to the next level here, because everybody started wanting this technology
Of course.
as an extra layer of protection,
Sure.
right?
Sure, why not? Right. I mean, is this what when the airplanes, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, not this part of your technology, but when they talk about like they're cleaning the air every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, whatever, it's completely cycled. Is this the kind of technology they're using in an airplane today?
So not quite, not yet, but we're working on it. So the airplanes are using these really high grade filters, and they're turning over the air quickly. But the problem is, and I take my measurement devices in planes all the time, the air quality is still not the way it should be. And so these filters are filtering out a lot of the issues. But when people come onto the plane, they're bringing their own issues onto the plane, and their carpets and the seats and the fabrics and whatnot, that where this is embedded. So the idea is, if the airlines one day added the bipolar ionization into the air system, and those ions were actually attacking the contaminants in the space, it would make their filters that much better. And that's what we've done recently with cruise ships. We've installed this on many cruise ships after their issues, and we hope to install this in many trains. And eventually, think about it, the cars should have this as well. So we've been able to scale the technology to be able to be installed in a 200 square foot room up to a 1 million square foot, the Empire State Building, or Brookfield Properties headquarters, or, it goes on and on. We have many large skyscraper buildings, and we have many systems that are just in a hotel room. Because think about when you stay in a hotel room, it's all about a good night's stay and a good breathing experience when you sleep at night. So people have this technology that they're breathing. It just really enhances their overall breathing experience.
Yeah, so cool.
It's interesting, you think the story, how we got involved with the technology initially, and he told us it goes back to the days of Einstein. Einstein's sister actually got sick with tuberculosis, and she was told the place to get better, feel better, was the Alps. Go to the mountains, breathe that clean air. And so Einstein wanted to understand why. Why is the air so much better in the mountains than it is at sea level? And he developed this theory around conductivity, and that conductivity was caused by these negative and positive ions. So it's the technology from that theory was born. Conrad Habicht invented this tube. This tube got passed down to his son, and they used the tube in Europe in odorous environments, but they really didn't know what they had. And eventually we acquired this tube and this technology and brought it over to the United States. And now we have over 8,500 customers around the world and growing every day. And it's just, I feel so good about it because we're really creating this cleaner, healthier, safer environment. We're helping people every day, and we're really saving lives. I feel like I'm back in the security business again. Wow. Of saving lives and protecting property. So it's an amazing journey, and I feel proud that, we are changing the world.
So I'm guessing that there's competitors in this space. What is the competition like, and how do you guys stand out, and how are you different than what other people are doing? I mean, you already mentioned a couple of things, but yeah.
Sure. I mean, there's different ways to filter the air. There's filters, UV lights, electrostatic air cleaners, but all these technologies that are out there are passive. They're on the return side of the air. They're trying to grab the contaminants that come through it, or they're trying to zap them or grab them in some way. But our technology is active. So we're trying to attack, proactively as opposed to react. And so now some competition that has come up saying, we have a bipolar ionization tube as well, even though we have the patent on this technology. But what we've done different than most, I mentioned the air testing business earlier. Mm-hmm. It's really important because you can't see what's in the air, and there's a lot of snake oil out there, right? So it's very important to measure and validate and verify that the system is truly working and making a difference. And so where we used to go out and measure the air, put the system in and measure the air again and show the difference, now we've coupled the system with these sensors that are real time, that are measuring these 11 elements of air quality. And so people can actually see it on a dashboard, and they can see the air quality outside in downtown Manhattan or in LA, where we just put our system in the Staples Center a while ago, and they can see the air quality outside, but then they feel the air quality inside, and they can see how much of a difference we're making inside on a real-time basis. And I think with the world going more transparent than they ever have before, being able to show people what they're breathing has put us on a whole different level than any competition.
Yeah, and I would think before people really didn't think much about it, but obviously since the pandemic, everybody thinks about it, I think, quite more frequently. And especially with, venues like having the Staples Center now added to your list of clients. I want to know when I go somewhere that I'm breathing good air. I don't want to, you're in a big crowd, and, you always have that risk when you're in a big crowd with you never really thought about the pandemic issue. But if you think about it, the flu is a pandemic. It's here every year. Okay. Exactly. And coronavirus is just another flu. Well, it may be more debilitating if you're not careful, but still, it's a flu. It's a sickness. It's no worse than asthma or allergies. And, it's kind of interesting that, well, I guess, in America, because we're so blessed, a lot of times we don't think about the negative impact things have on us until something happens where that negative impact is now front and center.
Well, when you think about, years ago when there was a city in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, and they had that water crisis, everybody started to think about, is this water that I'm drinking healthy? And the same, exactly. And so same thing happened here with air, with the pandemic, where we were building a beautiful business. We have a great team, people that have really whether the engineers that have further developed the technology and are people that install it every day and service it every day. And we have a large sales group out there talking and educating people every day. The technology, we've made some improvements over the years. The education is so important. And then you help people through their health and wellness, through their sustainability initiatives, through even energy savings, because there's a component of what we do. When you recycle clean air, you can save energy. And then the pandemic happens. And while you've been educating everybody about what your technology can do, now it's just accelerated that much more. And so all these people that we talked to started coming back to us and saying, we really need something like you have. And maybe there's no technology that's the silver bullet. I've always said, but they have to have a good filter. You have to have good protocols. Wearing a mask in these times that we had, it was necessary. But then adding our technology as this extra layer of protection was really what put it on the map. And now when people were trying to get people back to work and back to school and back to sports and travel again, when we started this business, we focused on just sports. We figured if we could put our systems in all the professional sports facilities, that are having 20 to 40 to 60,000 people come to a sports facility event, and we're educating them on cleaning the air, eventually colleges would follow. Colleges follow the pros typically, and then eventually schools would follow, because schools follow the colleges, and then eventually the consumer would follow. And so this is how we brought the technology out in sports, and that led us to all these different successful verticals and commercial office space and hospitals and casinos, believe it or not, and gyms and whatnot. So we're really helping in all these different areas create this better environment for people to go back to work and school and play. It's really exciting. Every day I feel like we are making a difference.
Cool. That's what it's all about. So let's talk about your company culture. Let's talk about that. How do you promote it? What is it all about? And how do you create that positivity in your business?
So for me personally, I come from a family that had a mentally challenged brother. And my brother Larry was one of my inspirations. When you have a person in your family that needs your help and needs support 24/7, you always have to be there. And so I had to do for two always, because that's my responsibility. And he'd do the same for me. And that's how I grew up, just helping others. And to me, bringing that into our company, whether it be in a fundraising capacity, which we'll talk about, but just in the business overall, we have to have a sense of urgency. We're in a place right now where we can make a big difference in people's lives. I always told my kids, find something you're passionate about, find something you love, do it well, and then the money will take care of itself, right? And so in this business, I love what we do every day. I think most of our people, if not all, really love what they do and like what they do, and they do it really well. And therefore, we got everybody pulling on the same side of the rope, to get the job done, because it starts with that phone ringing and creating that impression. That first impression is so important. How can we help you? And then that opportunity to educate somebody on our technology. And once it's sold, it has to then get installed. Great installation service team. During this whole problem of pandemic, we had to really keep up with manufacturing, make sure our quality stayed there. And then the service, because our systems have to be replaced every 2 years. The systems stay in place, but the tubes that I told you about, they last for about 2 years. Like light bulbs, you have to unscrew them, put a new one on, and you're good for another 2 years. So that service component is so important as well. And so everybody on our 75-person team right now is really full out. They love what they do. We have a company culture, a call every first Friday, this Friday at 3:00, every first Friday of the month. We have a 30-minute call with the company and just educate them on what happened the month before and engage everybody to what can we do to be a better company. And it all comes down to people, right? You surround yourself with the
100%.
right people, and that's what makes a great company. It's the people behind the company. You have to have great product. We have the great technology, but if you're going to execute, you have to have the right people on the team, on the bus to execute. And we constantly are striving for the best people. And I think we have a great team on board right now.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. If you don't have the right people and the right team, right, then success is going to be a long way off. And we've seen that so many times in a lot of businesses that we, fortunately and unfortunately for them, but then we can help them and get them fixed. So let's talk about your involvement with Pro Sports Challenge. And I think you already kind of gave us an indication of where it comes from. But let's talk about that. And, because this Profits with Purpose podcast is all about creating positive social impact. Let's talk about that.
Sure. So, growing up with a mentally challenged, developmentally disabled brother, it was all about how can we better his life. And it's not just his life, but now he lives in a group home of about 104 friends, and they depend on the Lower Fairfield Center. It's a state-run facility, but the Lower Fairfield Regional Center also has a parents and friends group that donates and helps where the state maybe falls down. We go over and above. So we really wanted to create an entity called the Pro Sports Challenge that would give companies the ability to play in a little mini Olympics, if you will. They would donate funds and come with 5 men and 5 women on a team. So it was a nice event for them to come and network and play. And, we had lots and lots of teams on the field making these donations. And at the end of the day, it was all about educating the people that came about people that were developmentally disabled and teaching, even bring your kids, if you're just on the field picking up water bottles, if you're just there to cheer people on. It was a great event to be at because it educated people why we were there. And hopefully when somebody sees somebody in the street that might not be normal as you might be because they have developmentally disabled disabilities, nobody pokes fun. We help that person. We hug that person. And so to me, that's what we created. Every year it built, started, back in the early 90s. And we've raised a couple $1 million.
Fantastic.
Yeah, last couple of years, lost my dad. We haven't been as forthright with it, but we built it year after year after year. And now because of it, they have wheelchair vans, they have outside pool. We've enhanced their programs by, kids could go to McDonald's, they could go to the movies, we just had this extra fund to really take their lives to the next place. And it was all about helping others. And to be honest, that's our business. Let's help others, but let's also help others that are less fortunate than us and always give back.
Giving me chills, man.
My life. It's my life.
That's what it's all about. That's why, it's why we do what we do is an opportunity for everybody we help to give back to something that's important to them. So I guess this is one of my favorite questions I like to ask my guests. It's what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
So I got to go to my dad. right? My dad is not here with us now, but ingrained in me are the A, B, C, D, and E's parts of my life, right? And how I live my life. And the A is you have to live every day with a good attitude. And it's tough to do sometimes, but you got to stay strong and you got to have a great attitude. And the B is the belief, right? You have to have that belief in what you're doing every day makes a difference. And if it's a product you're selling, you have to have a belief that it's the best. The C is the commitment. You have to have commitment to get the job done, to see it through. You know, I don't have anything, but we're going to get this job done every day. I have that commitment. And you have to have the D. You have to have the discipline to see it through. Lots of people have the great dreams, but if you don't have the discipline to see it through, it won't get done. And the E part is why my dad was so great. It was the enthusiasm, right? Enthusiasm is contagious, and you have to carry that message. And you know, he always used to, you know, do a cheer, and when he was training groups of people, whatnot, he was in different businesses, but you know, he always said to be enthusiastic, you have to act enthusiastic. And then he would raise it a little louder. To be enthusiastic, you have to act enthusiastic. And at the end, he would say, boy, am I enthusiastic. And that was my dad. And that's what I live by.
Such a blessing. So nice. Is there anything that I haven't mentioned that you want to touch on?
You know, the technology is out there to help everyone in an indoor environment. We've done a great job trying to get the message out there, but podcasts like this hopefully will educate more that this technology is available. It's not only air quality, but energy savings. Don't forget, everybody's trying to be as sustainable as we can and help reduce the carbon footprint. And when you recycle clean air and you don't have to bring in as much outside air, we are reducing the carbon footprint every single day, every system we put in. And today we're expanding all over the world, have offices in Arizona and Shanghai and the UK and Dubai, and it's really growing. People are catching on that, you know, creating these cleaner, healthier environments are, you know, what we can do to give back. And just thank you for the opportunity to tell you our message. It's a team effort, and
no I in team.
There's no I in team. Exactly right.
So we'll put this in the show notes, but where can listeners go to learn more about, you know, both the business or get in contact with you if they'd like?
Sure. So the company is actually called the Clean Air Group. People can go to both of our company names, Atmos Air, at atmosair.com, or Bioclimatic. This is another company that we acquired along the way and a part of the Clean Air Group family. And easy phone number, you know, 203-335-3700. You can always get myself, and you can always get anybody at the company to help you. So
cool. Well, Steve, thank you so much. We appreciate you being a guest on Profits with Purpose, and we will get the message out there and hopefully help people breathe better air.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Profits with Purpose. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you are interested in reducing the expenses of your business, creating positive social impact, or contributing to the show, reach out to Mark or Yannick with Evolved Profits by emailing podcast@evolvedprofits.com or visiting the website www.evolvedprofits.com.